UFC 315. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on to make sure you share the video too. And also note, I'll be live for the entire card Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. And let's get into the first fight on it. We have Daniel Santos, Willie Cat versus Ji Yoon Lee. The pick is Ji Yoon Lee, and I think Willie Cat is at a major disadvantage at 145 pounds. He was supposed to fight against Davy Grant a little bit ago. And if you guys follow the channel, you know I was locking Davy Grant as a dog leading into that fight. Willie Cat pulls out, doesn't weigh in, and now he's moving up to 145 pounds. I had seen some pictures of him looking absolutely chunky, so not surprised to see him moving up in weight here, but he's not a featherweight. Willie Cat is just one of those guys that doesn't optimize his diet, and I would say he's essentially undisciplined. Now, as far as the actual matchup, okay, Ji Yoon Lee is, I think, a pretty dangerous striker. I know the Hyder Mill fight, it's easy to jump off a bandwagon and say somebody sucks after they get knocked out early in the first round. But his kickboxing is actually pretty nice. He has a nice wide stance. I'd say he's a pretty snappy kicker with decent punch combinations as well. Overall, I would rate Ji Yoon Lee as a pretty good striker. I'd say solid kickboxing base. Has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on top of it, well-versed game. And I feel like he's got good flurries of like explosive onslaughts with big power in his hooks and definitely a fast twitch guy. It's like one of those situations where, the Hyder Mill fight absolutely destroyed the stock, but Ji Yoon Lee was solid. I mean, listen, he beat Yija, who's tough as nails, and then he beat Blake Builder, who's not that good, but still a win over, a UFC fighter. And then I look at Willie Cat at bantamweight. He had some nice W's and he had some hype a few years ago. He hasn't fought in nearly 2 years. Decision over Johnny Munoz Jr. was not that impressive. He knocked out John Castaneda, but he also got his shit rocked in round one. That was 2.5 years ago. And to keep it real, it's not like beating John Castaneda at this point has that much weight to it after he's taken a handful of losses. And then Julio Arce tuned him up in his UFC debut. So what has Willie Cat really done in his UFC career? I look at Ji Yoon Lee and I think, okay, there's some momentum on his side. I know he took a real bad loss to Hyder Mill, but Hyder Mill would wreck Willie Cat if they fought. I mean, damn, Mill just beat William Gomez, who was a highly touted prospect. The loss to Hyder Mill is not one that I'm going to hold against Ji Yoon Lee. I think that his kickboxing matches up well against Willie Cat's Muay Thai-ish kickboxing style. Ji Yoon Lee is going to be 3 inches taller. But besides that, he's going to have a 6-inch reach disadvantage. I think he definitely can strike well from the outside. I feel like he's going to have success landing shots from range against Willie Cat. If they tie up and they go to the ground, I see Ji Yoon Lee getting on top. I don't think Willie Cat is all that good, especially now at 145 pounds. I think this comes down to laziness for Willie Cat. He's 5'7". He wasn't a huge bantamweight. Okay. I never looked at Willie Cat and said, man, that's a guy that should consider moving up. It's a lack of discipline. And I'm telling you, regardless of Ji Yoon Lee's last result, dude is dialed in. Puts in a lot of work. I know for a fact, comes in amazing shape. He's still only 29. I mean, granted, Willie Cat's 30, but I still think there's promise with Ji Yoon Lee and definitely a winnable fight here against a Willie Cat coming in, overweight, pulling out of the fight against Davy Grant. Now stepping into this fight, going to 145. I think he's going to be undersized for the division. And I think he's taking on a guy that has pretty solid skills in the kickboxing. And I feel as though Ji Yoon Lee's on his way to a win. I lean towards decision. Could look similar to a Julio Arce fight. Both guys having moments. Willie Cat does have decent hooks. I'd say he has explosive combinations at times, but being at a massive disadvantage in the range, I think he's going to be hard pressed to find that type of success. Also, without like a substantial wrestling threat. Ji Yoon Lee's got pretty good hips, and I feel as though, like I said, if they go to the mat, I can see Lee as the guy ending up on top. So we're going with Ji Yoon Lee. We're going with the Korean Tiger. I feel like he handles business here. And betting wise at plus 120, I don't think this line stays plus 120 for Lee. I was very surprised to see Lee as an underdog here. Santos minus 140. I don't quite understand the odds. I'm thinking of Willie Cat Yeah, he beat Johnny Munoz Jr., but decision win against a guy that was released from the UFC. I don't get it. I don't get why he's minus 140. I thought Davy Grant was going to beat him. I picked Davy Grant as an underdog. Well, I'm picking Ji Young Lee as an underdog also. And I will tell you guys this. Betting wise, you might want to get that sooner rather than later because I think there is a real possibility that the line gets a tad bit closer, potentially even money, or even a possibility of Lee being an ever so slight favorite as we get closer to fight day. So something to note. Over 2.5 minus 125. Possible. I wouldn't go bet the over. There could be a violent finish, but I lean towards the decision for sure. I think that, Ji Young Lee maybe is getting thought of as a guy with a sus chin. I just thought he got caught by some perfect punches against Emil, and Emil brought relentless pressure. Hyder Emil's close to that top 20, man. So I can't really rate that as a horrible loss. I feel as though Lee will have a comeback performance, a get-back fight, and I'm going to pick Ji Young Lee to beat Willie Cat. I'll lean the decision, but a finish is not impossible. We'll see what the props look like later on in the week as far as the betting side. But definitely, if you are on the betting side, the money line catches my eye. Ji Young Lee as an underdog to start the card off. Actually, I don't think this is the official bout order, but Ji Young Lee to get it done. And I think he beats Willie Cat at 145 pounds. Next fight on the card. Modestas Bukauskas versus Iwan Cutelaba. Real quick, I got to give myself a pat on the back. I predicted the UFC would make this fight. I thought it was the best fight to make following their most recent wins, and I'm happy the UFC put this matchup together. I like the fight a lot. They fought on the same card recently, and I think them fighting one another is a good jump. Like, all right, who's going to get that step closer to a possible top 15 fight? And I'm going to pick Modestas Bukauskas to win. Modestas Bukauskas has slowly but surely started to really put things together over recent years. I feel like Modestas Bukauskas is pretty solid. When I look at his striking, I rate his kickboxing skills as technically sound, and I would say pretty good forward pressure, good boxing going forward as well. His punch combinations on the inside, I think, are pretty nice. He does have power in his hooks. I like his shots a lot. I would say overall, he does have legit pop in his punches, even if he's not getting knockouts left and right. They're punches that make the opposition respect the power on the opposite side. Now, we also have seen him do backflips post-fight. What that tells me, though, is that light heavyweight, he's definitely a good athlete. He trains alongside Tom Aspinall as well. And I feel like right now he's hit his stride inside of the UFC. He's coming off of a nice win against Sequeira, quick knockout where he was able to blitz a guy who maybe is a bit of a certified can, but still made it look absolutely easy. And then fight before that was able to sub up Prochnio. He did get caught with a nasty head kick in close range, but Prochnio comes from that traditional martial arts background. Very few guys are throwing up lightning speed head kicks like that. 2-fight win streak, and then obviously a knockout loss to Petrino before he got fraud checked. Petrino does hit like a truck, and he landed the perfect punch. Cutelaba on the opposite side. So good thing I'll say about him, he fraud checked Ibo Aslan, and I predicted him to fraud check Ibo Aslan, as, I guess a handful of people did. But I feel as though Ibo Aslan was just a power hitter who had nothing besides big punches and literally zero grappling defense. He got taken down and he got wrecked, right? Fight before that, split decision with Ivan Erslan and even got grappled up in round 3. Really, I thought he won the first 2 and just lost the third. But I don't think that was a super impressive performance, and I still question Iwan Cutelaba against some of the more talented light heavyweights. I mean, he got boxed up by Felipe Lins, and he lost a clear decision. And now he's taking on Modestas Bukauskas, who I feel has that technicality and patience, somewhat like a Felipe Lins. Not saying he has a similar fighting style to Felipe Lins, but the comparisons of patience. Like, I feel as though Modestas Bukauskas is a calm fighter. Cutelaba, with age, has become a significantly more calm MMA fighter. I mean, if you look at his early UFC career versus now, he went from the ballistic, psychopathic onslaught from the jump to a guy who takes his time, to a guy who picks his shots and mixes in takedowns and, has developed a more patient arsenal of attack. But ultimately, I still feel as though he doesn't have supreme technicality with his hands. He throws power shots, but he eats a lot of shots. Modestas Bukauskas will land cleaner punches. Modestas Bukauskas, I think, is also at least defensively sound. Could I see Cutelaba nabbing a big takedown? Yes. I think Cutelaba could land a takedown or two, But does he just dominate Bukauskas from top position? I don't see it. And I think Bukauskas brings more damage as far as the striking goes, and he's more accurate with his boxing. So I'm going to say Modestas Bukauskas gets a win here. I think he could actually get a knockout win as well. I don't think that's a crazy take. Currently, Modestas Bukauskas, it's even money. I'm seeing minus 117, minus 103, or even minus 110 on both sides. I'll say Bukauskas lands more significant shots. Possibility of him getting a KO, but not an outstanding possibility. Definitely a possible outcome is these guys in a 3-round back and forth. Over a round and a half, sitting at minus 160. I will predict that this fight is live to go over a round and a half. I feel if Bukauskas knocks him out, could be in the second or third round. The thing about a guy like Bukauskas is he's kind of like making strides consistently. Like each of his recent fights, even if you include the loss to Petrino, right? The last 5 fights, we have seen a significantly better version of Modestas Bukauskas as opposed to his early UFC run some years ago. I feel like he's got a great chance to win this fight. I do think it's probable we go over a round and a half. I'll lean towards Bukauskas by a decision or KO. I think those are 2 most likely methods of victory. Now, he does have a submission threat that he brings in here. Does have the win by sub against Prachnio, but Prachnio's grappling defensive abilities don't necessarily match Cutelaba. I do think the sting in the punches could be a factor for Bukauskas. Finish is possible. Finish is possible for him, but betting side of things, when you have even money, good money line. Taller guy Bukauskas by 2 inches, 3-inch reach advantage, and the crispier boxing, definitely the cleaner boxing skill set, I believe, with a slight range edge and just just better outside boxing style. I think he's going to find some clean shots on Cutelaba. Definitely could potentially hurt him. Possibility, like I said, of him getting him out of there, but not crazy about that possibility. So the pick, Bukauskas, I'm rambling and ranting about this fight. If you can tell, I'm pretty damn excited for this matchup. It's definitely a light heavyweight fight of like the unranked that gets me intrigued. So let's go Modestas Bukauskas, and I'll favor him to get a pretty clear-cut W here against Cutelaba. Next fight on the card, we got another light heavyweight fight. Navajo Stirling versus Ivan Erslan. I am going to pick Navajo Stirling, but I'm going to pick him with, relative hesitancy. Reason being is Ivan Erslan is much more experienced fighter, right? More than double the professional fights. Like essentially what? He's got triple the pro fights of what Navajo Stirling has. It's just, I don't know, man. Ivan Erslan, at least in the debut, he looked timid on the feet. He looked kind of overly calm on the feet against Cutelaba, and he was getting touched up with shots, landed a few punches as well, but also got hit with some stinging shots. And then he won round 3 just wrestle fucking and like not doing anything with it, which was just a terrible strategy because I thought it was pretty clear that he had lost the first 2 rounds. So for then, him to go about the 3rd round instead of, searching for a huge ground and pounder, just letting the fight go back up to the feet and throwing bombs. He just like accepted the loss, but took the moral victory of taking round 3. Got to grab a sip of water. I'm talking so quick. I don't like that. I don't like that at all, man. I think Navajo Stirling's good. Obviously, the Tokos fight, he got tested a bit with grappling, but Tokos is a superior grappler, I would say, to Ivan Erslan, though he's not as good of a fighter. I do think, purely in the grappling department, Toko's offensively better at wrestling. And then when I look at the striking, Stirling has a clear-cut technical and tactical kickboxing advantage. He attacks the legs well. He has good striking from long range. He picks his shots nicely, very accurate. He's actually pretty patient for a guy that's, only 27 years old and very new into his UFC career. Good lateral movement. I would say overall, clear-cut technicality advantage for Navajo Stirling. And on top of that, he does have knockout ability, good counter hitter. And I think he could catch Erslan with some decent shots. Hard to say that he's going to knock Erslan out. Obviously, that'd be badass. We've seen Erslan KO'd a couple of times, or maybe a couple. Let me double check this. I think he got KO'd twice. Oh, only 1 KO loss. Okay. It was a KO loss too, though, over in KSW a year and a half ago, which, KSW high-level fights too. Like, he's fighting the top of the line there. Those guys don't mess around, and there's no drug testing. I think Navajo Stirling can get a win. Tactical win. He's going to have a massive reach advantage of 7 inches. Ultimately, there is a path to victory for Erslan, so I'll just lay out the path. If Erslan can drag Navajo Sterling to the ground from an earlier time in the fight, like if he's able to wrestle fuck him for 3 rounds, possibility of him taking a decision. But overall, I just have to rate Navajo Sterling's danger threat in the striking with the technical kickboxing, with an ability to pick shots with calmness. I rate that higher, and I think he lands some pretty good counter shots. I do think he could shut Ivan Erslan's lights off, but could see a fight that's relatively close and like Navajo taking a 29-28 decision. Definitely in the stand-up department, though, I expect Sterling to land more shots. The worry with Sterling is going to be the grappling defense, but I feel like his get-up game is solid enough. Takedown defense is there. He'll scramble hard, and it's not like Ivan Erslan is this beastly, elite caliber Croatian wrestler. You know, he's got the ability to land takedowns, but not like he's, Mr. Destruction with ground and pound or anything like that. So I'll say Navajo Sterling does get a win, but, relatively competitive fight. I can see another decision. Better option for his career is counter shot KO. I like Navajo Sterling, man. And I do think that his debut, he was met with some octagon jitters. And you could say it's a little bit of a cope from me of him not getting the finish. But I think it could have been octagon jitters, man. This was the, first time in front of a crowd. He'd only fought at the Apex before. And it was, a damn Contender Series fight. And then to jump fighting in UFC Tampa. Now he's used to it. Now he's fought in front of people in a massive stage. Minus 310. Navajo Sterling's a wide favorite at open. What do we have? Minus 275. So he's been a big favorite. Erslan plus 260. The pick is Navajo Sterling. I think a tactical win. Tactical win. Over 1.5 minus 200. Seeing second round KO. That's scary though. Chasing it over a round and a half, man. That's a little scary with Sterling, who's got KO power. I mean, he's got 4 knockout wins. Like, he was on a knockout tear. Like, 2 guys that, he took him to decision, but debut and most recent fight, UFC debut and MMA debut. I think a comfortable Navajo Sterling could land some stinging shots on Erslan and put him down and out, because I see a differential in speed for sure. And, with a speed advantage and the massive reach advantage, you really have to favor Navajo Sterling to look pretty good in this fight. So going Navajo for the W. Next fight on the card, ladies going after it. We got Jessica Andrade versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Ooh. Jasudavicius. I know my pick leading into these videos. It's not like I'm doing it off the top of the dome, but I just wanted to make sure. I think Jessica Andrade in the striking department is better than Jasudavicius for sure, but I just can't pick her, man. I can't. She looked pretty good in the fight, even with Natália Silva, to be fair. She still went 3 hard rounds, but she got tuned up in the striking, got clearly outstruck by like more than 50 shots. And then before that, it was a split decision with Marina Rodriguez, which is aged like shit because Rodriguez just got destroyed on Saturday. And then Mackenzie Dern win. Dern, it's a 115-pound, right? Different weight class. Now we're at 125, bigger ladies. Jasudavicius, strong wrestling. Jasudavicius, Canada's own, and the fight card is in Canada. 4-fight win streak for her. I feel like the wrestling pressure is going to be too much. I feel like she could end up chain wrestling a lot in this matchup here. The takedown threat is just like too much of a factor for me. I feel as though the striking of Jasudavicius is quite mediocre, but it's effective enough to mix in wrestling. Now, if Jasudavicius is unsuccessful consistently with takedowns, and let's say that Jessica Andrade is just accurate as fuck with defense, and like Jasudavicius cannot get her to the ground, then Andrade landing power shots in close range could be a factor. But to be fair to Jasudavicius, she's also in incredible shape and seems to have a pretty good chin. So Andrade knocking her out doesn't seem super likely. So then it would have to be Andrade just out kickboxing her all night. And I guess I just can't see a world where Jasudavicius doesn't have success at worst at controlling Andrade in close range in the clinch against the cage. I feel as though Jasudavicius will have some type of control as they tie up with one another. And though I'm saying Jasudavicius is not an elite caliber striker, she's not. She has a 6-inch reach advantage and a 6-inch height advantage. Throw skill sets out the window. just that aspect alone makes a, clear wall to climb for Jessica Andrade, who, yes, is used to fighting girls that are a fair amount taller and longer than her, but also having high caliber wrestling and a really good gas tank. I know age wise, you look at, the side of Jasudavicius. Oh, well, she's 36 years old. Yeah, but she's like a prime 36, later start to the UFC career. We've seen Andrade forever. Yeah, she's 3 years younger, but way more MMA fights. This is going to be Andrade's, what, 40th pro MMA fight? Yeah, this is fight number 40 for Jessica Andrade. I feel like Jasudavicius by decision. Maybe Andrade takes a round. Maybe she wins some exchanges and has some big moments. But I think, especially with the Canadian crowd behind her, Jasudavicius is going to be so fucking dialed in. So dialed in. She's not going to back down from the fight. She's going to close the gap, wrestle a bit. Andrade, if she starts winging big shots, could get caught with a takedown from her just like overextending her punches and stuff like that. And I don't think Jasudavicius is getting laid out. So I'm going Jasmine Jasudavicius. She'll beat Jessica Andrade in a competitive back and forth fight. The odds are very wide. I disagree with betting lines. I actually am not much of a fan of the betting side at minus 300 for Jasudavicius. Like, obviously, plus 250 for Andrade is way more compelling, and that's why the line is plus 250 to bait you to play it. Opened up at plus 330, which is kind of crazy, and Jasudavicius was open at minus 400. Oh, my God. Wow. I think Jasudavicius wins, but pretty underwhelming odds, man. Over 2.5 minus 165. I'll say the workhorse, Jasmine Jasudavicius, backs Jessica Andrade up, presses her against the cage, lands some key takedowns, takes maybe a 30-27, 29-28. Like, I could see one round going to Andrade, but her winning the entire fight, I guess I'm just hard pressed to predict that, Andrade is kind of in this fight with a puncher's chance, whereas I see the most likely outcome is a Jasmine Jasudavicius wrestle-based, pressure-based decision win. So I'm gonna pick that. I'm gonna predict the most likely outcome. Jasudavicius decision in this matchup here. Next fight on the card, we got Mike Malott versus Charles Radtke. Ooh. Ooh. Ugh. Savage mode USA in this hole. I'm going Charles Radtke to get the win. This was probably the hardest pick, or at least one of the hardest picks for me on this card. Definitely one of the harder picks to make of the year, because I understand Mike Malott's side, right? He's a tactical kickboxer. He does have decent grappling. He's a skillful fighter, but like, Charles Radtke's pretty fucking good, man. I feel like Radtke is just one of those under the radar guys. Trains with Belal Muhammad, which I think is a big factor. Dude is in incredible physical condition. Radtke hits harder, I would say. Definitely, I will tell you this. Inside fighting, boxing in the close range, right? The red zone, right? That real danger threat. I believe that Charles Radtke is better boxing on the inside, without a doubt. Bigger punch combinations in close, just simply put, more power. Now, from distance, I'd say Mike Malott has a little bit faster footwork and might be a better kicker than the side of Charles Radtke. And I feel as though Malott from long range could have some success, but it's not like Mike Malott has this crazy long reach, right? He's got a 73-inch reach. Radtke on the opposite side with a 72-inch reach. I expect this fight to be more so fought in the closer range. And if Malott is striking from the outside, I'll assume it's kicks. What, is he going to high kick knock out Radtke? No. Might chop at his legs a bit, catch a couple body kicks. But to be fair, I could see Radtke catching the kick and potentially dragging Malott to the ground. Charles Radtke, underrated grappling skills. He's got pretty good jiu-jitsu and he's very physically strong. Could see them as, a lot closer than the odds will have you believe in. I feel as though Radtke could sting Malott with some big punches. I feel as though Malott does have a decent chin. I know he absolutely sold against Neil Magny, but it's Neil Magny, to be fair. Malott's got that southpaw switch hitter stance, so, comfortable out of both sides, kickboxing from long range. Radtke looking to close the gap. I think Radtke keeps the pressure on him. Radtke lands some big punches on the inside. I think potentially Mike Malott looking to wrestle a bit, and then Radtke surprises him with the takedown defense. It's not an impossibility for a Radtke KO. I do think that Radtke has some pretty legit power. I mean, if you look at his most recent win, destroyed the corpse of Matt Semmelsberger, but he still destroyed him. Knocked out Urbina quick, and then a loss to Prates with the knee to the body. There's no shame in that Prates loss. On the opposite side, Mike Malott beat Trevin Giles, by a decision. He's beating Adam Fugit. Look at the UFC wins. Mickey Gall, who's shite, and then Johan Lainus, who's not fighting anymore, I don't believe. Adam Fugit, who's essentially out of the UFC. Maybe they'll keep him for one more. Trevin Giles, who's way past his prime. And then it's like Charles Radtke, same thing. Semmelsberger was washed. Gilbert Urbina knockout, who's, not really all that, but okay. I mean, Urbina's an Ultimate Fighter finalist. This was a bad debut, to be fair, but he's a lot better than he showed against Blood Diamond, for sure. And then, the loss to Prates. And then here it's the loss to Neil Magny. Well, he got finished by Magny after winning a good amount of the fight, but it's like the corpse of Magny too, man. And he lost to that version of Magny. I got to go Radtke. I think Radtke can land some thunderous punches. I don't know, man. I don't think he's really 5'9". I think Charles Radtke's like 5'10 and a half, 5'11. And I don't think Mike Malott's actually 6'1", because I feel as though when they face off, they'll look a lot closer in height, because even Radtke with Semmelsberger, he looked to be almost the same height as him when they actually got in the cage. I'm going to say that Charles Radtke lands more significant punches, does more damage, is able to grapple with Mike Malott. And I'll say Radtke pulls out a win. Possibility of a knockout, for sure. It's just, hard to guarantee the KO. I could see Radtke getting a nitty-gritty decision in Canada. I don't think we're getting a robbery here, if you're thinking hometown bias. But nah, I don't know. I'm not feeling a robbery. I'm feeling like Radtke landed some thunderous punches. Malott lands better kicks. They grapple a bit. I feel like Charles Radtke's defense is on point. Possibility for Radtke to even end up in top position, because I really feel like if you match these two up, like pound for pound, who's physically stronger between the two of them, I would rate Radtke as the physically stronger guy. I'm going to say Charles Radtke gets maybe a stoppage win by knockout. I don't know, man. Method of victory is blurry for me. We'll talk props later in the week. Possibility of a KO, but definitely a possibility of a decision. Odds for the fight are really wide here, and I don't know, man. It's that Mike Malott hype bias that has the odds at -240. Like, does Malott have a chance to win? Absolutely. I'm not telling you that Charles Radtke's a lock of the year, but -240 in a fight that's pretty 50-50 is also crazy as hell to me, especially with Radtke being clearly the harder puncher of the two. At open, it was -225. So, damn. Yeah, Malott's been the favorite. I like +205. I'll pick Radtke. I think Radtke is one of the more underrated guys in the UFC welterweight division. I feel as though, an iffy debut, people kind of wrote him off, and then they forget about the impressive wins elsewhere, and they just think about the Prates loss. So I'll say Radtke's live for a W. +205, I just moneyline it. The over is actually plus money, so a finish is anticipated here, but wouldn't be as insane if they ended up going all rounds. But I do think Radtke, if there's a finish, I favor it to Radtke. If Malott's to win, I think it's a decision. I don't think Malott's knocking Radtke out. And I don't think Malott's subbing Radtke. Radtke, he's underrated, man, okay? I obviously know more about Radtke than most because, obviously knowing an ex-friend or, a friend of his ex-friend, I don't know, ex-training partner, I guess would be the better terminology. So I feel as though I've kind of felt the hype of Radtke for a while, and I feel as though the masses of fans don't really have their eye on Radtke with the same level of respect that they should. I don't think Mike Malott is a, -250 favorite here. I think this is an even Stevens odds fight. For me, betting lines would be better at -110. And then Radtke with the power threat and skillful grappling. I'm going to go Charles Radtke for the upset. And I think this fight is going to look a lot closer than the bookies will have you believing, man. So I'm going underdog. I'm going Charles Radtke for the W over Mike Malott. I'm pretty damn excited for this fight. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, we have Marc-Andre Barriault versus Bruno Silva. This is a battle of who is more washed in the middleweight division. Simply put, this is a battle of two guys that are past their prime. And now I'm making a pick on it. Oh my. Oh my. I have to make a prediction on this? Marc-Andre Barriault. Let me just think of it like this, or let me just explain it like this, because this is how I'm thinking of it. If both of them are fully conscious, nobody's knocked out, who's grittier, who's more in your face, who's way less likely to quit? Marc-Andre Barriault. Barriault is the tougher between the two. I think he's the more pressure-based fighter between the two, and he's not so much reliant on the knockout. I feel as though Bruno Silva, it's like he relies on the KO or he's going to get outworked. Like, yeah, 2 years ago, he knocked out Brad Tavares for a big upset. Actually, pick flip to Bruno Silva leading into that fight. So, savage dog call at that time. And he knocked out Tavares, which still, like, it's impressive to KO Brad Tavares for sure. I feel like they could have let it go a second, but I don't know. He dropped Tavares. He rocked him bad. He landed some beautiful punches. He has power. There's no doubt about it. Bruno Silva can let hands go. He definitely can have significant moments, but can he keep up a high pace in a dogfight against a Barriault? No, he can't. Does he threaten Barriault in the grappling department? No. Does he have much for him in the clinch? No. Boxing wise, I'd say it's competitive. Barriault probably better on the inside. Silva better from the mid range. I'd say Silva's probably better at kicks than Barriault. I'd say punching power wise, I guess Silva hits harder. But like after this Tavares fight, he's fallen off. I mean, the Brendan Allen loss is fine. The Shara Bullet loss is okay. Shara is clean. The Weidman fight was fucking egregious, though. Chris Weidman cheated that fight, clawed the eyes out of Bruno. And then Ismail Nardiev fight, right? Nardiev ends up outworking him, pushing him backwards, making him uncomfortable. I don't know what Bruno Silva really has left in the tank, but then on the opposite side, it's like, oh, wait, I'm going to pick Marc-Andre Barriault, who got destroyed by Dustin Stoltzfus. He got taken down, pounded a bit, knocked flat out with a perfect overhand right. Before that, Joe Pyfer destroyed him, but to be fair, Joe Pyfer is a dangerous prospect. And then a split decision with Chris Curtis. I mean, bro, he could have won that fight. It was a close-ass back and forth, man. Marc-Andre Barriault was absolutely in that fight with Chris Curtis, and he loses nitty-gritty split. So it's like, okay, a year and 3 months ago, he looked all right. A similar time frame. I mean, Bruno Silva's looking still like shit against Weidman, regardless of the cheating. This is what we're doing here. I'm picking between a guy getting chinned left and right and a guy that just looks like he doesn't want to fight people anymore. Oh, my God. I feel like Silva is more likely to mentally wilt, whereas Barriault is more likely to go unconscious. That's really exactly how I would define this fight. But I'll say Marc-Andre Barriault, he's in Canada too. I think that he brings some thunder. I think he backs Bruno Silva up against the cage, kind of wilts him, kind of wears him down, beats him up with shots in the clinch, maybe even drags him to the mat. I'm going to say Marc-Andre Barriault in a back and forth fight can get the win, but I'll be shitting my pants. If you are betting this fight on the side of Barriault, you're going to shit yourself because Bruno Silva could catch him with a wild overhand right. He could have an explosive combo, but like all Silva does is throw power and that's all he can do. He doesn't have like versatility to his game, especially now. I feel like Bruno Silva is way worse now than he was even 2 years ago. Like he's been looking like shit lately. And Barriault also has been looking like shit, arguably. But to be fair, he's getting knocked the fuck out, fight over. It's like Bruno Silva's just getting outworked by everybody. I'm going to say Marc-Andre Barriault outworks Bruno Silva. And I'll say Barriault's live for maybe it could be a ground and pound finish or a decision. Minus 145 for Barriault, Silva plus 125. I'm curious what the Silva prop bet is going to be because I think that's his most likely outcome. Over 1.5. I'll say that the sweatiest over 1.5 of the card, minus 200. I'll say it hits, though. I'll say Barriault backs Bruno Silva up, but they're going to slug a bit. I think Barriault could crack Silva, and Silva could kind of start mentally breaking. I really think Bruno Silva could have retired after the Brad Tavares fight, called it a career, had a great run, because since then he has looked substantially worse each and every time, and I feel as though he has no desire left in him. At least 3 fights ago, Marc-Andre Barriault was close against a good fighter in Chris Curtis. So, I don't know, man. Marc-Andre Barriault, it's like now it's always got a glass jaw, but there's also the other side of the argument that would be like, well, he just got caught by big punches. Like, if you get hit by a perfect shot over the top by Joe Pyfer, you're probably going to sleep. If you get caught by a perfect, shot exactly to the chin in a striking combination in a back and forth type of fight against Dustin Stoltzfus, you probably go to sleep. It was just perfectly placed. Can Bruno Silva perfectly place a shot and Barriault gets chinned 3 straight times? And now Bruno Silva, I mean, listen, I think that Joe Pyfer, Chris Curtis, and Dustin Stoltzfus all beat Bruno Silva's ass too. So I'm going to say Marc-Andre Barriault finds a way to win. I'll say he outworks him. Possibility of a TKO, possibility of a finish on the ground, but I lean towards Barriault outworking him over 3, but much would prefer a 3rd round knockout or even a submission. He gets an arm triangle of a gas Bruno, but less likely for sure. Probably Barriault competitive fight, finds a way to win a decision, but eats some scary shots in the process. Bruno Silva is going to wilt after the first round. That's the thing. It's like Bruno Silva is really like first round or it's going to shit. I'm going to favor the guy that has more of a chance to win if the fight goes past the 5-minute mark. So give me Marc-Andre Barriault. Next fight on the card, we have Bekzat Almakhan versus Brad Katona. I'm going Bekzat all day. I think Bekzat's going to look good in this fight. I like Bekzat's skill set, man. I feel like you have to give the guy mad respect for stepping in and fighting Umar Nurmagomedov in a debut. I mean, he had a great moment. He caught Umar right on the ear early and had him hurt. Outside of that, yes, he got outworked by Umar Nurmagomedov, but it's Umar Nurmagomedov. That's the elite. That's the top 3 in the fucking division and probably a future champion of the world. Brad Katona's pretty good. He's got decent boxing. He doesn't have power worth shit, but a high-level amateur background in boxing, but just like he really doesn't hit hard. Has like a very amateur boxing style of flurrying, peppering punches, but doesn't really sit on any shots. But he is skillful, man. He picks his shots decently as well with his legs, has a well-versed game, has some grappling in the arsenal, has some hand speed, definitely a volume puncher, decent fight IQ. I'd say that he's crafty. He's crafty. He's kind of, he's crafty enough. He's not elite level, but like he's been fighting a long time, man. Brad Katona has won the Ultimate Fighter twice. He's pretty good at MMA. It's just, he's not able to break into the upper echelon. I think it's kind of because of just a lack of physicality. He's 5'6" with a 64.5-inch reach. So he's always at a reach disadvantage for the most part against like any man in the UFC. So that's kind of a, glaring weakness. And then on the opposite side, Bekzat's clean, man. Bekzat's got really good kickboxing. He's smooth with his striking. I would say that he definitely has some power in his hands, but just overall shot picking is pretty on point. I'd rate him as a dangerous striker, though, certainly. And then on top of that, he's got good takedown ability. He's clean from top position. He brings a threat of some ground and pound. He could, potentially just ride this one out with some wrestling. Not necessarily a guy that goes out there and, gets boring wins, right? One submission, one decision. I'm not saying submissions are boring. I love jiu-jitsu, but you know what I'm saying. 9 knockouts for him. Bekzat does find a way to put people out. Brad Katona, though, historically has been pretty fucking durable, man. Dude has never been knocked out as a professional. So I do think this is a fight where Bekzat could get pushed to that point where he has to win a decision. But I'm not too worried about his cardio. I think Bekzat's ready to go 3 hard rounds. I think he can tactically outstrike Brad Katona. I think he can land the bigger shots on Brad Katona. I think he could take Brad Katona down and, put him in compromised positions on the mat. Probably not getting a finish, but still the takedown threat should be there. I really like Bekzat from like the mid/long range. I feel as though he has that very clean sniper striking style. I want to call it a Russian sniper style because that's kind of what it looks like, but he is a Kazakh fighter. So, I don't want to call him a Russian when he's not, but like it's that long range techno style. I love the style. I've spoke upon it. Like I love seeing that type of style. Keeps it tight, very proper, snapping kicks, good straights, picks his shots well. Pretty versatile fighter. Bekzat Almakhan has big potential in the UFC. And I think a clear-cut win over Brad Katona. A debut against Umar Nurmagomedov a little over a year ago, and then now a second UFC fight against Brad Katona. This is, a significant step down in opposition and a step down in the right direction because, Bekzat should not be fighting like a, Corey Sandhagen next or anything like that. I like this much better for him. So I'm going to go Bekzat over 3 rounds, getting it done. I think he'll look pretty good. He's around the -180 favorite here against Brad Katona, and I'd say that the odds are relatively fair, maybe even a little close. I thought Bekzat was going to be like a -250 favorite. At open, he was sitting at -250. Okay, so I agree with the -250 at open. -180 is kind of valuable. Brad Katona +155. I just don't think Katona has the power to make Bekzat respect him, nor does he have the wrestling to make Bekzat overly concerned about ripping hard shots. So I think Bekzat's going to look good. The over 2.5 -300, obviously, the pick is decision, but always a chance of a finish. I would rather just straight money line. I think Bekzat's definitely a potential parlay piece for me. I think he's going to look pretty good in this fight. I think he's going to be able to beat Brad Katona. This is kind of the level and the style that Katona struggles with. Like Gene Matsumoto outworked him, but he beats a bum like Jesse Butler, low-level guy. I don't want to shit on Jesse too hard. He's still a UFC fighter at one point. Garrett Armfield tunes him up. And then, he did beat Cody Gibson, which is actually, relatively impressive. Gibson's pretty tough and Gibson's pretty tall. Yeah, Beksat's better than that. He's too versatile. He's got a wide array of skills. And I'll say Beksat Almakhan for a nice, hard fought decision makes a lot of sense to me. And I think he'll land some significant shots in the process and maybe even mix in some takedowns. Beksat W for sure. Now we're going to jump to our main card opener for now, because it's only a 4-fight main card for now. They're going to shift some things. We had a cancellation of the Alvarez and Saint Denis fight, which sucks because that was going to be a certified banger, and I was so excited for that fight. But it is what it is. I think that they might do Benoit Saint Denis versus Mauricio Rufy in the coming weeks or something like that, or coming months. I don't know. Alvarez out, and he's moving up to welterweight with Stinks. But let's talk about this fight. Jose Aldo versus Aiemann Zahabi. And also make sure you guys hit that like button if you're enjoying, if you're new, subscribe. The pick has got to be Jose Aldo to get it done. I believe Jose Aldo still has it. I think that he looked pretty damn good against Mario Batista, and I think it's, a win that probably ages good. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. I'm getting the Aldo excitement building up inside of me. Aldo's an excellent striker. He's got really clean boxing. He was trained with that Brazilian national team for a while. Very precise and accurate striking, good movement, extremely good defensive abilities. I mean, you can't really outstrike Jose Aldo. I mean, the guys that are beating Aldo are holding him against the cage. His two most recent losses, Mario Batista, who's a workhorse pressure wrestler and did like zero damage. And a lot of people felt as though Jose Aldo still could have won the fight based upon damage at the end, me included, but it is what it is. And then the other loss he has is to Merab Dvalishvili, the current champion. And Merab pinned him up against the fence, pressured him backwards. Jose Aldo's takedown defense second to none. Now, thankfully, in this matchup here, most likely striking fight, Aiemann Zahabi, kickboxer for sure. Zahabi actually has pretty good stand-up. I would say he has kind of like a dipped stance with decent straight shots, but he's not very quick. He's accurate because of his, striking fight IQ, but definitely not like a high caliber athlete. Does work a decent jab though, and I'd say he's got nice close range punch combinations. Not too worried about grappling on either side of this matchup. I'd be pretty surprised if Zahabi's wrestling. Actually, I would think it would be more likely that Aldo mixes in takedowns as opposed to the side of Aiemann Zahabi mixing in takedowns. Jose Aldo, next level accuracy, still very fast twitch, great kicking skills. Not the same level of leg kicking that he once had, but definitely could mix some kicks in the arsenal. Reflexes still seem to be on point. I would say Jose Aldo is still there. And how I see this fight playing out, I think you're going to see Aldo with the speed advantage, Aldo with the cleaner strikes, cleaner boxing between the two, landing more significant shots. And I think it'll be competitive. I could see Zahabi having moments, but I will say I think Jose Aldo's hand speed is going to be a factor. I expect Jose Aldo to rip some punch combinations. Specifically, I want him to mix it up to the body, right? Like he did some years ago when he was knocking out Moicano and Jeremy Stevens by just dropping some thunderous shots to the stomach. I think you could find success doing some body work here against Aiemann Zahabi. I do think Zahabi will land some jabs and maybe even some crosses in the arsenal too, but I feel like Aldo lands cleaner shots, more shots. He's got a more well-refined tool set, and he just simply put has more tools. Now, Aiemann Zahabi is riding a shitload of momentum. He's coming into this fight riding a 5-fight win streak, but the win caliber is not near Jose Aldo. Draco Rodriguez win, who actually went on to do some decent work in BKFC. Ricky Tercios, I mean, it's an okay W. Tercios is gritty. A Richie Long knockout, that was a badass win. He was able to destroy a Richie Long. He looked incredible in that fight. Beat Javid Basharat. He fraud checked Basharat, outworked him in a very close fight, though. It was very close. Very, very, very close. And I think that, Jose Aldo can look at that fight and say, okay, I'm levels above Basharat. And then Basharat got knocked out in the first round by Ricky Simone after and beat the washed Pedro Munoz, who had lost a handful of fights in a row. I think that Jose Aldo is going to put on a technical display. I think he outworks and outstrikes Aiemann Zahabi over 3 hard rounds. And I feel as though Jose Aldo for the W is a near certainty here. I know he is 38, but I think he still got it. 6 months ago, he fought Batista and he went to a split decision. Now Aiemann Zahabi is going to send him back and out. No, it's a Jose Aldo W. Let's look at the odds. Minus 210 for Jose Aldo. I agree with the odds. I think Jose Aldo definitely quite likely to win. Aiemann Zahabi at plus 180. I like the chances for Aldo, man. I like the chances for Aldo a lot. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 345. I would absolutely freaking love to see Jose Aldo drop some hammers on Zahabi and knock him out. But we've seen a very tactical Aldo in the bantamweight division, not the same level of finishing ability that he had at 145 pounds. I mean, just to give you examples of this, like let's look at, some of the recent wins. Jonathan Martinez, tactical decision. Rob Font, tactical. Pedro Munoz, Marlon Vera. You get where I'm going, right? His bantamweight wins have been decision wins. He has not shown knockout power since 2019, really, but he landed some decent punches on other guys. I feel as though Jose Aldo by decision, landing more significant shots, being clearly faster, and having more tools is going to be the ultimate difference maker between the two. So Jose Aldo, unanimous decision, turns back the clock, gets a W, and sends Aiemann Zahabi. I mean, maybe not out of the rankings, but away from the top 10. So we're going with Jose Aldo. I think he's still got it. Next fight on the card, the ladies going after it. We got Alexa Grasso versus Natália Silva. The pick is going to be Natália Silva. I'm going to pick her, man. I think she can pull through. I think Natália Silva wins, guys. Hard fight because Alexa Grasso can definitely box well. She's got good combinations, pretty good straight shots, decent hand speed, but I don't know, man. Something tells me Alexa Grasso is going to be at a clear-cut speed disadvantage against Natália Silva. Silva's going to have the big cage to work with, which I like a lot for her style. I mean, if you think, she's a very high movement-based fighter. And this last one, right, this is what I'm bringing up, is UFC Apex against Jessica Andrade. If she fights Andrade in the big cage, she looks way more dominant than she already did. So with like Natália Silva, she's one of those fighters where like space is her best friend, right? Lateral movement, kicks from the outside, staying on the bicycle, and she can move hard for 3 rounds. She's got decent speed with the hands. Doesn't have quite as good boxing as Alexa Grasso, but with a slight speed advantage and definitely an edge in footwork, I still think she's going to find success landing shots. Alexa Grasso, at times she'll really ride with that Mexican grit, come and close the gap, throwing hard punches, but does she sting up Natália Silva and drop her? I can't really see it. I think Grasso gets outstruck in a technical back and forth fight. I think she'll definitely win a round and she'll have moments, but Natália Silva is going to look pretty fast, and maybe Grasso doesn't even win a round, to be fair. I like the 1-2s though of Grasso. I'd say Valentina Shevchenko kind of like exploited the takedown defense of Grasso. Normally it looks a lot better, but the last fight, my God, she could not stop a takedown to save her life, man. Grasso does have a decent feint game, and like her 1-2s are nice. She's pretty technical with boxing, to be fair. Her hands are good, but I feel like overall striking arsenal, Silva is going to have more tools. Silva's going to have a speed advantage. She's got really good side kicks, also has some nice spins that she mixes in with the attack. Like I said, lateral movement is on point. Definitely a snappy kicker who has just overall a great stand-up game. Leg kicks are going to be a factor too. I can see her chopping at Alexa Grasso's legs, slowing Grasso down, making it even harder for Grasso to try to cut the cage off and like chase down Natália Silva. And I think Silva's going to look good from distance, kind of keep on that bicycle, pick some shots, and do a good job here. I mean, she's got an elite caliber skill set. I mean, you look right now, she's riding a 12-fight win streak as a pro. I mean, we can just look at some of the recent ones. Beat Jessica Andrade in the small cage, which literally is every advantage for Andrade, right? You're giving her way less of a distance to cross to find Natália Silva. And now we're in the big cage against Grasso. I think it's a problem. And then like beat Viviane Araujo, who's tough as fuck and a good fraud checker normally. Andrea Lee win, which is okay. Andrea Lee's meh. Nice win against Leonardo, who's kind of a can. Blade, who's kind of can. Also beat Jasudavicius, though, and looked good in that fight. I think Natália Silva looks nice here. Takes out the former champ, man. Alexa Grasso, I respect what she's done. The big upset against Shevchenko, the ability to force a draw in their second fight. But then in their third fight, like her level got shown. It's like, okay, Shevchenko was definitely better. Like, it's just Grasso had big moments. We don't have 5 rounds either. Actually, we'll say I like Alexa Grasso more across 5 rounds because I think with a speed disadvantage, it would be better if there was 25 minutes. So this would be more of a slow paced and, tactical fight where, she could take her time and then, slowly but surely find her openings. Whereas 3 rounds, yeah, it's 15 minutes. Yes, they're 5 minute rounds, which is a lot of time. It's this I think it favors Natália Silva a lot, man. I'm going to say Natália Silva by a decision seems to me the right call here. The odds for Natália Silva, she's minus 220. Opened up at even money and is spread to minus 220. That's kind of wild. Plus 185 for Alexa Grasso. Wow, wide as hell though now. I feel like Natália Silva looks tactical. I think she looks clean, man. Let's see, over 2.5 rounds, minus 400. Listen, I like the over. I'd be pretty surprised to see a finish. I'll say Natália Silva by a decision, landing a lot of kicks. A lot of kicks, a lot of movement. I think that Grasso has a hard time landing clean punches to the head. And because of that, I actually could see Alexa Grasso looking to implement some wrestling, but Natália Silva's hips are on point. Takedown defense should be there. And even a possibility of like a trip counter from Natália Silva, and she'll end up on top. So the prediction is going to be Natália Silva to win via unanimous decision. I believe that she beats Alexa Grasso, gets her hand raised, and probably puts herself right into that title picture, because this is a massive win for her to take out Grasso, the former world champion, and a woman that beat Valentina Shevchenko, regardless of the most recent result where she was absolutely dominated. She still has that win on the resume against a legend like Valentina, and that holds a lot of weight. So Natália Silva for the W. Let's keep moving up. Co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot. Oh my God, this was the hardest pick on the card for me to make. Ah, ah, ah. I'm going to pick Manon Fiorot to win. I have to. I have to, man. I have to. Her tactical striking from long range is clean. And I know Valentina Shevchenko is an elite Muay Thai-esque kickboxer, okay? I know she has tremendous kicks to the body. I know she has tremendous snap on her shots. I know she's a legend for sure. It's just, I look at the Grasso fight and I'm like, okay, Grasso had the glaring, weakness in the takedown defense, regardless of the other fights, right? Like Grasso being out wrestled, right? Shevchenko was able to find that weakness and work hard towards it. Against Manon Fiorot, her takedown defense is what, 93%? Like Manon Fiorot has incredible takedown defense. She also has very good striking from distance, and she has pretty good punch combinations. I like her 1-2-3 a lot. That's the jab, cross, hook. And I feel as though it's a cool battle of southpaws as well. The sidekick of Manon Fiorot, which she uses to manage distance, is definitely going to be interesting here against Shevchenko, who does stand more of the Muay Thai stance, whereas, more of a bladed stance for Fiorot. It's quite interesting to see this fight because it is kind of like, this is obviously a bit of a stretch, but it's like karate versus Muay Thai, right? It's because you have more of the bladed stance from Fiorot, the side kicks, the striking from distance, whereas Shevchenko more of the traditionalist Muay Thai-esque striking flow. Really great matchup. I love this fight for sure, and I think it could definitely be close. Red flag around Fiorot. At times, she does these like weird dips and ducks, and I do expect Valentina Shevchenko to try and land high kicks. We saw Erin Blanchfield crack Manon Fiorot with a clean high kick in round number 5. Fiorot obviously showed an iron chin, was able to survive it, and still do very well to finish out the fight. But definitely just a moment that I noticed where I'm like, okay, the high kicks of Shevchenko were there. Problem is, I don't think Shevchenko has the takedown threat on lock against Fiorot. I'm not saying it's impossible for her to get her down, but it's going to be hard to get her down because Fiorot has good straight shots, including the side kick. So green zone, long range striking, Manon Fiorot does have an advantage. Now, as we get to the mid-range, Valentina Shevchenko's body kicks are on point. She does have solid punches as well, definitely is quick, and I think that she could land some clean shots on Manon Fiorot, but normally Fiorot's defense is pretty sound, and she does like to keep moving. I think Shevchenko is going to look to close the gap, pressure wrestle against the cage, but I guess I feel as though there's a worry for me, and it's that Valentina Shevchenko looks to hunt and, get this fight to the ground, but Manon Fiorot's hips are on point. Manon Fiorot's takedown defense is on point, and Shevchenko is taking on a girl that's going to have a little bit faster striking, a little bit longer than her, a little bit better from the outside, right? A girl that truly can match Valentina Shevchenko in kickboxing abilities is not a commonality for Valentina. Shevchenko still, she's one of the greatest of all time, and I definitely feel as though she can make this a close back and forth. But looking at the Grasso fight, it was wrestling control. It was takedowns. It was top position. It was not outstriking Grasso. Like there was moments of boxing for Grasso in all of their fights. And I think Manon Fiorot is definitely better with her overall striking arsenal than Grasso. I know people say, oh, well, Grasso's Mexican boxing. But like if you matched up Manon Fiorot and Alexa Grasso and you just think about the striking of the fight, you'd have to favor Fiorot to land, a fair amount of significant shots from long range and be able to, essentially pick apart Grasso. Maybe not extreme dominance, but enough so to get a clear-cut win. And now when I look at Shevchenko, I'm like, she is 37. She had that great performance against Grasso because of the obvious gap in the takedown defense. But like, let's just look back for how close the matchup was against Talia Santos 3 years ago, right? Talia Santos pushed Valentina Shevchenko to a very difficult point. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Talia Santos, but she was headbutted and that caused her eye to swell up and, obviously changed the course of Talia Santos' MMA career because now she's fighting in PFL. But just something worth mentioning. I feel as though Manon Fiorot, even though she's not much younger, 2 years younger, it's like the spring chicken MMA, 12-1 in MMA, less MMA fights. I feel like the style is going to be tough for Shevchenko. I think Shevchenko has a hard time taking her to the ground. I think there'll be striking moments from both, but Fiorot from long range will have success. I think Shevchenko is definitely going to look to close the gap and wrestle. I think Fiorot's takedown defense should hold up, but I do think Shevchenko at some point hits a trip, but ultimately, I feel as though it's just unlikely to see Valentina Shevchenko consistently dragging Manon Fiorot to the ground, consistently getting top position, just controlling her and beating her up like she did against Alexa Grasso. I really can't see that, man. Manon Fiorot's got crazy momentum right now. She's on an absolute tear, undefeated inside of the UFC. She's been spectacular, and I think that she can land some 1-2-3s. I think she can land some combinations as Shevchenko is looking to close the gap in mix and wrestling. And I think Manon Fiorot being a little taller inside of the clinch, the leverage advantage should allow her to defend takedowns pretty well. I think she could even stay active in the clinch, working in some knees to the body and maybe even elbows in close range. And I'm going to say in a real competitive, hard-fought back-and-forth fight, I do think Manon Fiorot can get a decision win over Valentina Shevchenko, the 37-year-old champion. This is a wild-ass fight because you have the 35-year-old challenger who absolutely looks primed versus the 37-year-old Shevchenko who, a couple years back, we were kind of talking about, around this fight after the loss, like, oh, maybe Shevchenko's washed. And then the draw, it's like, she don't got it anymore. But then she just absolutely dominates Grasso and wins, pretty much every moment of the fight. But with a wrestling-heavy game plan. Fiorot hasn't shown the lapse of wrestling. She took on a spectacular pressure grappler in Erin Blanchfield last time, and she was able to stop Blanchfield's wrestling all night. Blanchfield had a couple of moments in striking. She's a relentless pressure fighter, but Fiorot was accurate, picking her apart with clean shots. Now, it was, over a year ago. I think Manon Fiorot decision, guys. Fiorot landing a bit cleaner, stopping Valentina's takedowns, and I think France is about to get their first champion ever. I think Manon Fiorot by a decision, and I will not be surprised when they book the rematch. I will not be surprised when they book the rematch and they do it in France on a fight night main event. I actually think that's a good idea, or maybe bring a pay-per-view to France, but I do think that Manon Fiorot versus Valentina Shevchenko. Actually, I'm having a weird thought. If John Jones doesn't fight Aspinall, they could do Aspinall gone and then Fiorot Shevchenko in France. I feel like that would be pretty awesome for the French crowd because if you follow, man, the French crowd is some of the best in the game. Maybe the best crowd right now in all of MMA. I'm going to say Manon Fiorot pulls through for France. She gets a W on a competitive decision. I think she's going to beat Valentina Shevchenko in a nitty-gritty, close back-and-forth fight, being a little bit sharper in the striking, and I do think she's going to find success in defending the Valentina Shevchenko takedowns. So I'm going to go with Manon Fiorot to pull it off, and it feels like an upset, but she's the favorite. Fuck the betting odds on this one. Minus 170 for Fiorot, plus 145 Shevchenko. I won't lie to you guys. When I initially taped this fight, I thought that Valentina was a minus 100-something favorite. Surprised to see her as a dog. I don't think it makes much sense. I don't agree with the odds at all. I don't like that, that she's the favorite. Obviously, it's like, oh, I'd be better if I had Fiorot dog. No, I don't give a fuck about the lines. Probably not going to bet on this fight specifically. But yeah, I don't really get it. I don't get why Manon Fiorot's minus 170. I don't think she should be. I think these odds should be way closer. I think this fight is another one. It's a 50-50 fight. but I think Fiorot does just enough more to get a hard-fought decision. So the pick is going to be Manon, Fiorot, and New. I'm going to say they go 5. Over 4.5 is -310. I'll predict it. And I am so fucking excited for this fight. Like, this right here is the pinnacle of women's MMA. This is an amazing matchup, and I cannot wait to see it. And if it's a good fight, I hope we see a rematch. I do. I think let Natália Silva fight against somebody else if she's able to beat Grasso, of course, for a #1 contender fight, and let's just run these two back. If it's close, if Shevchenko loses, I think you got to give her a rematch for the belt. I have to see it. I have to see it in France, too. I have to, and I have a feeling we're going to. Manon Fiorot by decision over Valentina Shevchenko. Next fight, main event of the evening. If you guys have not yet, make sure you smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe it up. Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. I'm going to pick Belal Muhammad. I'm going to pick Belal, chat. I love Jack Della Maddalena. You guys remember his early UFC run? I've been hyping him up for a long time, but it's just too soon, man. Belal is such a hard matchup for Jack Della. Belal Muhammad is the essence of a workhorse, okay? The guy doesn't gas. He's consistently bringing pressure. He's developed actually pretty good boxing, a nice jab, good kicks actually too. Belal's always had these nasty body kicks. It's like he has no fear really of being taken down. Granted, we've seen him taken down a few times, but like no fear of it, that he just rips these thunderous kicks to the body. Overall, pretty clean striking combinations, but to make his striking so much better, Belal is a high caliber pressure wrestler with really good physical strength. I mean, he picks people up and throws them around. We saw with Leon getting dumped on his head. Belal doesn't gas, and he's ready for 5 rounds, and he's proven that. To keep a pace up with Belal is so damn hard. And Jack Della Maddalena being, you know, a bit on the more one-dimensional side. Of course, Jack Della training with Craig Jones. Supposedly he put Craig Jones to sleep with a choke and it was security cam footage. I don't know. It seemed fake. But regardless of that, Jack Della has been developing a grappling game. I just don't think he's ready for it yet at 28 years of age, a guy to the level of Belal Muhammad. I think Jack Della is a really good boxer. I think Jack Della has awesome punch combinations. He rips to the body nicely, rips to the head nicely, and mixes it up nicely, okay? And there's clean power in the hands of Jack Della Maddalena. But we've seen him struggle a bit in certain matchups against like physically strong, pressure-based fighters. I mean, even dig back, you know, 3 fights ago, Basil Hafez gave him a hellish fucking fight on, you know, a debut. Basil Hafez went to a split decision in a close matchup with Jack Della and had Jack Della uncomfortable a bit in that fight. And Jack Della does like jump in those gillies, which I think could be a big mistake against Belal. And then even, you know, most recently, Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns was taking him down, finding top position. Yes, Jack Della Maddalena's get-up game is awesome. He has a really good get-up game. But ultimately, he was getting outworked in round 3 by Gilbert Burns, then lands the perfect knee. Perfect knee, drops Burns, finishes him off with ground and pound. Fight before the split decision against Kevin Holland. I just can't pick Jack Della Maddalena on the what if factor. What if he lands a knee up the center? Sure, knees are aspects of his game that he's going to need here against Belal, who's probably going to look to shoot. Boxing combos, absolutely on point. But how is he going to just let the hands fly when the threat of takedown from Belal is so obvious, right? It's just right in your face. There's the threat of takedowns from Belal Muhammad. Jack Della is nasty, and I love Jack Della. He's got awesome punch combinations. He's got legit power, and the dude doesn't quit on himself. But the thing is, Belal's ready to beat him up for 5 rounds. I think Belal wins a 5-round hard-fought decision. I don't think Jack Della ever gives up in this fight, but I think he gets out-positioned. I think he even gets stung up a bit on the feet, and I'm sure he fires back some big shots on Belal, but I think Belal eats some and then throws shots back. And also, if Jack Della starts getting into a striking flow, Belal has that option of taking Jack Della down or at the least threatening Jack Della and making him really work hard to defend the takedown to fuck that striking flow up. I will say this. I think Jack Della, the better pure striker. But when you mix in the takedown threat as well, Belal Muhammad and Jack Della's striking becomes a lot closer. And I think Jack Della is going to need a knockout. I don't see him winning a 5-round fight against Belal Muhammad. In the likelihood of him flattening Belal, Belal's chin's been holding up for a long time, man. I just don't think it's very likely. We haven't seen Belal lose in years. We haven't seen him lose in the 2020s. I think Belal Muhammad, still at 36, nearly 37, in his prime. Belal in the peak physical condition. I think Belal outworks Jack Della Maddalena, mixes in some takedowns, has some striking moments. I think Jack Della is taken down and put in compromised spots similar to what he was against Gilbert Burns over a year ago. But Belal doesn't make the same mistakes as Burns because positionally, he's more sound. He's better at positional control than Gilbert Burns. I think Belal Muhammad, unanimous decision in a pretty fun back and forth fight. Obviously, Jack Della is going to be looking to dig deep. He's not going to quit. I can see him being down, 3-1 going into round 5 or potentially 4-0 and just swinging for the fences until the very end. I know some people are going to say, oh, well, Belal, what about in round 5? Leon was slicing with elbows in the last 50 seconds. Like, let's not forget, before Leon had that massive moment, Belal did have a dominant position on Leon and had his back completely. And then Leon slid out and there was a little bit of time left. And I think Belal kind of accepted bottom position in an attempt of like stalling and holding and then got sliced up with elbows. Not a good strategy because he took a lot of damage, but still had clearly won the fight. He was way ahead in the matchup. I think that Belal Muhammad's going to be ahead of Jack Della Maddalena, man. And I think that Belal outworks Jack Della over the 5 rounds. And I'm going to say Belal Muhammad takes home a decision, landing some key takedowns, having some success in striking too. Don't doubt him in the stand-up. And I think he's able to beat a tough, exciting, savage prospect. I love me some Jack Della, but I just think it's too soon. I don't think he should be fighting for the belt. I love the willingness to take the fight, the availability and jumping in. But biggest win is Gilbert Burns. Prior to Gilbert Burns, it's Kevin Holland. Prior to that, it's Basil Efez. You see where I'm getting at? Right now, in the UFC rankings, Jack Della has 1 ranked win, and it's against a Gilbert Burns who, just to be real, is towards the twilight. He's, he's main eventing a card at the end of the month against Michael Morales in a fight that he's kind of being used as an opponent. And Burns afterwards, he lost to Sean Brady too. I think that Belal is going to win, man. I can't pick against him. I mean, beating Leon Edwards before Leon had already lost the ball. Then it's like, oh, well, Sean Brady's right. I love Sean Brady. I picked him. But at the end of the day, Belal Muhammad did it first. And then before that, was able to outwork Gilbert Burns and pull off a win. And then before that, Sean Brady destruction. Sean Brady's a monster. In 2.5 years, he destroyed him. Obviously beat Luque, and that was a prime Luque. Dominated Wonder Boy. I'm going to say Belal Muhammad, I don't know, implements just a pressure-based game plan. I don't want to say embraces the grind. That's what I was going to say. No, because Belal's not a boring fighter. He gets a bad rap, but Belal's in fun fights a lot. Belal lets his strikes flow. Belal's aggressive. Belal mixes it up well. And I think Belal Muhammad outworks Jack Della Maddalena, gets some positional control, has some striking moments. And I think Belal takes home a decision and defends the belt against the surging prospect / contender. But at 28 years old, I think it's a little bit too soon for Jack Della Maddalena, though I do love me some Jack Della. I absolutely do. Now, as far as the odds, Belal is -220, Jack Della +185. You imagine Jack Della starches Belal. I'll be honest, man. I'll tell you guys this from the fan perspective, not the analysis side of predicting most likely outcome. From the fan perspective, a Jack Della Maddalena knockout is better for the UFC because the fandom on Jack Della is crazy. And if he wins, oh my God, main events in Australia versus Shavkat, that is a massive pay-per-view. And I think it's bigger, right? I mean, hopefully we get rid of the pay-per-view model, but still, it's a massive fight. It's a massive event. And, the Jack Della name as a champion, it's just a bigger thing. Like, it just seems to have more oomph on it, but it just doesn't seem likely. It doesn't. As much as Jack Della has the star power and he's got the fan base behind him, as much as I really want him to win, I won't lie to you guys, the fan side of me, fuck, bro. Jack Della, 3rd round knockout. He sleeps Belal after getting wrestled up in the first 2, and he just doesn't quit on himself. Rips some big punch combinations, has Belal on wobbly legs, drops him, puts him down and out in the 3rd round. Oh my God, I'm going to fucking jump with joy. But at the end of the day, I think that looking at what Belal Muhammad can do, it's mix up everything extremely well to such an efficient level that picking against that, just for a chance of a Jack Della win, I think it would be irresponsible and not the proper prediction. And I got to do a proper pick. So we're picking Belal to win the main event and outwork Jack Della. But I don't know, man. For the memes, should I bet Jack Della by KO? I don't know. I might do it. We'll see. Oh, but it's a meme call. I think Belal safer play. Maybe throw him in a parlay, something like that. We'll talk betting later on the week. I'm thinking about all the lines and whatnot and the potential options. And I'm looking at Jack Della +185. That would be awesome. It would be awesome. Would be awesome. It would be so awesome. But I think that Belal Muhammad wins, man. Minus 145 for the over 4.5. I'm going to say Belal. Decision. Outworks Jack Della in a pretty good fight. I do think that it's actually a really entertaining matchup, though. I don't think it's a snooze fest. I think Jack Della is going to crack Belal with some big shots. You're going to see Belal's chin tested, but it's going to hold up. I think Belal actually lands some good punches, then takes Jack down. I think at some point Belal's going to pick up Jack and slam him. I'm going to say Belal Muhammad gets it done on the judges' scorecards in a pretty damn fun welterweight championship fight. Those are the predictions for UFC 315. And yeah, I'm hype as hell for this card. I actually think it's an awesome card. So let me know in the comments what you think of the predictions. Definitely drop me some of your favorites. I'm curious where you guys are lining up on a lot of these predictions compared to mine. Obviously, Thursday, I'll get the people's picks from you all. Make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit subscribe. Turn on the post notifications. And don't leave them on personalized. Put them on all so you don't miss a video. So I'm doing live streams Monday through Saturday. I'm doing multiple streams a lot of those days as well with videos in the in-between covering MMA from every single angle, the savage angle. So keep it locked in on the channel. I love each and every one of you savages. Thank you guys for supporting me. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I'm excited as hell to enjoy the violent festivities with you on Saturday. So watch the damn Fight Companion this Saturday. Much love, my people. I will see you all in the next one. W in the comments if you got nothing to say. Thanks for watching. Peace out.